Lego man, what are you doing? Why are you making another video about this guy after one game? And you know, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is my thought process behind the entire Slafkovsky thing. When we see what's been going on with the Canadiens the past few days, it's easy to go out there and make your conclusions, say, hey, Slafkovsky has not been great. You had the comments from Kent Hughes talking about how Slafkovsky had not shown off well in the preseason games that he had played up to that point, and that it was so much better in the prospects game, and because of all the conversations going around, and to be honest, I'm part of that. I did make a few videos talking about like the AHL and everything. When there is good, you gotta acknowledge it. Especially in a story like this one, where the main character is the first overall pick of last year's draft in a pretty controversial manner too. Like, I don't think it would be too unfair to say that Slafkovsky was a quote-unquote controversial first overall pick. It wasn't a slam dunk like the Lafrenières or the Matthewses or the McDavids. This was a controversial one. There's a lot of controversy and a lot of conversing. No, not controversing. Conversing, yes, there you go, about this pick. And so, when there is good, when there is a very positive update at the highest level that we have received that update, then I do think it is important to go out there and acknowledge it. Last night, the Montreal Canadiens played off against the Toronto Maple Leafs in a very intriguing preseason game. Toronto pretty much iced a lineup that was akin to more so their real roster than the Montreal Canadiens did. You had yourself some of the big names on Toronto coming out to play. Kerfoot scored, Nylander was on fire. You had the Maple Leafs being the Maple Leafs, and the Canadiens were not really icing too great of a roster. I mean, the forwards, you had the big names that were there, of course, Drouin, Gallagher, Anderson, Slafkovsky, but the team only really had like one NHL defender, one or two, I guess. So, not really the best showcase for Canadiens hockey in general, but this is what the preseason is for. This game also happened to feature Juraj Slafkovsky's probably best 2 periods he has played in a Canadian sweater. We're talking about the second period, and we're talking about the third. Throughout the entire preseason up to this point, Slafkovsky has not been playing all too well. And we'd talked about this several times. There was some sort of a lack of killer instinct. You could see the habits that had been forming were not really up to NHL levels yet. You could see that there are some things that he needed to work on, some decisions that he needed to make with the puck in order to facilitate play more properly. And sure, while he did have a few rushes here and there, Slafkovsky wasn't really playing his best. And it was kind of like that a little bit in the first period as well. However, as the game went on, second period comes and goes, third period comes and goes, as the Maple Leafs start scoring more goals, you started to see Juraj Slafkovsky actually improve his game, and in a pretty dynamic way. He almost scored a few goals, and he actually got an assist, where he picked the puck up on the right side boards, walked in towards the goal, took a shot, the rebound bounced in front, and Drouin was there to tap in the rebound. You could see a little bit of the clunky Engvall sort of come out in the play when Slafkovsky was skating towards the net. It's kind of in the way that he maneuvers his legs. Like, it's weird, but when he stands and he glides forward, you could see that he really puts a lot of weight on the balls of his feet, and he kind of makes a little triangle when he glides forward, and you can see when he shifts left and right, it kind of reminds me of Pierre Engvall a lot. So it's kind of funny how that label was thrown out so early on, but we can still see it a little bit, or at least I can see it. I don't know if you can. But either way, Slafkovsky got an assist on the board, and if you go over to the Montreal Canadiens game score impact card, this is what Hockey Stat Cards goes out there and indicates was the tail of the tape. Juraj Slafkovsky had himself a more positive impact on the game offensively and individually than most of the Montreal Canadiens players. Defensively, sure, you could say that he was not really the best, but there still were many other players that did worse. The team had themselves a pretty bad game. You could definitely say that the Canadiens as a whole were struggling to find opportunities to score points and actually get things up on the board. Slafkovsky was included in that, but at least he looked a lot more dangerous, involved, and offensively potent than he did previously. And this game goes out there and it does a few things. Firstly, it says, hey, this guy is indeed legit. You have yourselves a few players that played very well today, or yesterday, I guess, because the game was last night. Slafkovsky, Doc included, these guys actually showed off very well, which gives us a little bit more confidence heading into the next few preseason games as we round out the preliminary NHL season schedule. Maybe if Juraj Slafkovsky goes out there in the final 2 or 3 games of the preseason and he shows off the same way he had in the last 2 periods of the game against the Maple Leafs, maybe it's a lot easier for Kent Hughes to say, okay, let's give him his 9 games at the NHL level. How's that sound? 9 games, we'll see what you're about. If you can actually play and be comfortable in the same way that you were in the sample that he had against the Maple Leafs, then, hey, that's good for you. It allows you to play in the NHL. It slides your ELC back 1 year, so you get more money sooner, and it's good for us because we're getting a good player who brings fans into the arena and whose name will get chanted on across the Bell Center for months to come. And honestly, with a player like Slafkovsky, wherein Kent Hughes said at the very beginning, we're not getting the best player now, we're getting the guy whom we think is going to be the best player down the line. There are many different paths that you can go with his development long term. It's just a matter of whether or not you feel it's appropriate to take whatever steps are there. If Slafkovsky does go out there and prove for the last few games of the preseason and a few games of the regular season, let's say the first 9 games, that he is good enough, then you keep him around. You keep him up here, you don't send him back down. He did say himself after the game that this was my best performance so far, but it's far from the level that I can play. And I like the talk, I do. But talk is talk. You gotta walk the walk too, and show it off that what you're saying is indeed manifestable. Manifestable? Is that correct? I don't know. You actually can manifest what it is that you're trying to articulate with words. Slafkovsky at his best is chasing after loose pucks, beating guys to it, controlling the offensive zone, skating onto open ice, and opening up more opportunities for his team to create offense. Slafkovsky has a very particular skill set, but as the games go on, the preseason prospects tournament, sure, the prospects tournament, he played really well. I mean, he's playing against guys that are his own age. NHL teams, kind of different. You're going up against Matthews and Nylander and Marner last night. Like, it's a lot different when it comes to the caliber of talent you're playing against. But either way, this was a very good step for Juraj Slafkovsky, and I don't want to make it seem like one game is going to make or break. Heck, not even one game. 2 periods is going to make or break his chances of playing 82 games in 22, 23. Yeah, I kind of got to get used to saying that, don't I? But at the end of the day, it's good to see him doing what it is that he is doing in the way that he has been progressing, and we all want to see him do more for the Montreal Canadiens. If he does go out there and play a game against the Ottawa Senators later today, I don't know if Slafkovsky is going to be playing. Maybe you'll know by the time this video comes up onto YouTube, but I don't know. At the time of recording this audio, I mean, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. I haven't gotten any sleep, so talk to the comments either way all your thoughts about Slafkovsky and the game that he had against Toronto. What are your thoughts about how he played? What are your thoughts about the goals that he almost scored? There was a very beautiful one-timer on the rush, cross crease, but it was just gloved up by the Toronto goaltender. Very nice save. And then, of course, the point that he did get on the Drouin goal. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about Slafkovsky against the Maple Leafs down below. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Slafkovsky, and bye.